Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about the meninges of the spinal cord. So let's not waste any of your time. Let's get right to it. Now when we're talking meninges of the spinal cord, there are three sections that we're going to talk about. And looking at the diagram beside me here, if you look to the far right, it lists the three sections of the meninges: the dura mater, the arachnid mater, and the pia mater. And it shows you the arrows or the line for where they are. We're going to talk about each of the three of them. So there is information on the screen that you'll certainly want to write down, and what I'll be talking about is summarizing or points of emphasis for each of them. But when we're talking dura mater, we talk location. If you look at the diagram, the dura mater is the outermost portion of the meninges. It's the orangish section. It's right below that yellow area, which is right below the vertebrae bone. The yellow area is kind of a fat area, epidural fat, and that is the place where during childbirth, if a person receives an epidural shot, it's in that section that the epidural is applied, and of course that numbs the spinal cord, which numbs the sending of pain messages up and down the spinal cord, which is one of the ways it is used, obviously, as we all know, help to alleviate the pain during childbirth. But that's that section. But right below that, in that orange little area, that's the dura mater. The dura mater simply encloses the spinal cord area, and you can see, if you follow the orange around to the edges, you can see that it even envelops the beginning of the nerve going out, exiting the spinal cord area, and then if you follow that out, you can see the anterior and posterior roots branching off from there. But the dura mater encloses, and of course right above it, top and bottom, is the epidural area. The second section of the meninges to discuss is the arachnid mater, and right away, I said arachnid, arachnoid, such a reference to spiders. When I see that I forget to change the ned to noid. But arachnoid mater, and of course it is a reference to spiders, and I'll explain why that is. But the arachnoid mater is special because that contains the cerebral spinal fluid, which is really important in the nourishment and the resources provided for the spinal cord and the brain. Once we talk brain, we'll talk a lot more about the cerebral spinal fluid as far as its components, so that'll be in next chapter. But just recognize it is contained in the arachnoid mater. And if you look at the list to the far right over there, as we've pointed out, the arachnoid mater is the blue area. The actual arachnoid mater is the very light blue edge, and then what's inside of that is considered arachnoid space. And it's got kind of a catacomb-looking lines and sections, and it gives it that spider web type look in a microscope. And hence the reference to spiders with the arachnoid prefix. So, but the thing to think in, it's the second layer, and it contains the cerebral spinal fluid, which is super important in nourishing and supplying resources for the spinal cord and the brain. Our last section, the pia mater. The pia mater is really important because it helps anchor the spinal cord as far as protection. it wraps around, and it follows, as it says there, it follows the contours of the spinal cord and really gives it that layer of protection that is needed. And it also does some anchoring as well. Because it follows its contour and kind of anchors it, it does limit the spinal cord side-to-side movement as another way of protection. And then the final thing to think about with the pia mater, you can see the reference where it says anchors the cord and Meninges to vertebrae. That isn't a typo. It isn't C1, which is the very, very first vertebrae right off the skull, which we referenced in last videos, but it's the first coccygeal vertebrae. So down at the very bottom, that's why I included the coccygeal vertebrae, which is right beside me in the diagram here. It anchors it to that, as opposed to, again, another layer of protection. Now this, because of the amount of information, the Meninges picture is pretty small, but on the next screen I'll point out, and you'll be able to see in an easier way the pia mater's location. So here's a blown up diagram, and now you can see the spinal cord better, and the real light edge, it's not orange, okay, but it does try to be a little darker than the white matter. But it's just that it follows the contour even down into the fissure, reaching up into the commissurae, which is the spot with it that connects the right and left side of the spinal cord. So that's the pia mater. Again, wraps around the spinal cord just like a very tight-fitting glove, and offers protection, reduces or limits movement of the spinal cord, and then the attachment to the coccygeal one. Well, that's our video over Meninges of the spinal cord. When we come back together next time, we're going to be talking about the gray and white matter. We'll see you then.